If you think brute force is enough to defeat a character like Diablo from that time I got reincarnated as a slime, you are completely mistaken. And worse, maybe not even the strongest character you know in terms of raw or legendary power could defeat someone this powerful. Because Diablo isn't just strong, he's the kind of enemy who decides how the fight will end before it even begins. Now let me ask you honestly, if you were standing face to face with him, do you think you'd have even the slightest chance, or would you already be dead? In that time, I got reincarnated as a slime. There are absurdly powerful characters, dragons, demon lords, beings, capable of destroying entire armies on their own. But even in that world, Diablo is different. He doesn't shout, he doesn't show off, and he doesn't need to prove anything because he already knows he's going to win any fight he chooses to enter. And that's exactly what makes him so dangerous. Diablo is a primordial demon. That means he wasn't just born powerful, he has existed since an era where the very concept of strength was completely different. While other characters became strong over time through training and effort, Diablo was already a monster since the beginning of time. And it's not just about magical power, it's about control. Absolute control. Every move he makes is calculated. Every decision planned far in advance. He doesn't enter a fight to see what happens, he enters already knowing what will happen. And here's the point that almost no one notices. Most characters lose before they even attack because they're still trying to understand what's happening, while Diablo has already finished the fight in his head. Now think about it, how many characters in any anime actually fight like that? Most rely on brute force, training, technique. But Diablo is more like Shikamaru, more like Demiurge from Overlord. He uses intelligence, patience, and absolute coldness. So the real question isn't, can you beat Diablo? The real question is, can anyone truly fight him? Fighting someone stronger is one thing. Fighting someone who controls the pace of battle and operates with total strategic awareness, that's something entirely different. Does that make him invincible? Of course not. There may be ways and even characters capable of defeating Diablo. But the real issue is this: is brute force enough? To answer that, we need to understand what it actually takes to destroy him. There are characters who could face Diablo, but here's the key detail. They don't win because they are smarter, they win because they exist on a completely different level of reality. Characters like Rimuru Tempest, Milim, Guy Crimson, and even Veldora, they can compete with Diablo. But notice the difference. You basically need to be a near godlike entity just to have a chance. Now let's make this more interesting. What about a human? Short answer? No. But the real answer is much harsher. A human wouldn't even have time to understand what's happening. Speed, magic, resistance, everything about Diablo operates on a level that simply cannot be compared. It would be like trying to win a game without even knowing the rules. That said, there might be a loophole, and this is where things get interesting. You don't necessarily need to defeat Diablo to avoid losing to him. If a human had prior knowledge, extreme preparation, powerful artifacts, and maybe even help from higher entities, could they win? No. In my opinion, they still couldn't defeat him, but they could survive. And surviving against Diablo, that alone would be an absurd achievement, something extremely rare, almost unheard of. If anyone in history has ever survived an encounter like that, it would already be a legendary feat. So, Diablo doesn't win because he's stronger, he doesn't win because he's smarter. He wins because he simply never puts himself in situations where he can lose, and that's what makes him one of the most dangerous characters in anime. Even when facing someone stronger like Milim or Veldora, their impulsiveness could be exploited. Diablo's coldness could overcome even overwhelming brute strength and turn the fight in his favor. Now, think about characters like Shikamaru Nara from Naruto. How many fights would he lose if everything depended only on raw power? Against Temari, for example, she was far stronger. Against the Sound Village enemies during the Sasuke retrieval arc, even the flute genjutsu user was more powerful, but his intelligence allowed him to overcome all of that and secure victory. Now imagine that same level of intelligence, strategy, and coldness, but inside an overwhelmingly powerful entity like Diablo. Do you really think that just having more power, more resistance, or more brute force would be enough? In my opinion, no, it wouldn't. Because even if you had overwhelming power, you would still have to deal with his intelligence, his strategy, and his absolute composure. And here's what truly flips the board. Not only are you fighting a supernatural entity with absurd power, near infinite magic, and immense durability, you're also facing someone intelligent, strategic, cold, and always prepared. Diablo is by far the most dangerous character in that time I got reincarnated as a slime. He has the potential to dominate the entire world if he chooses to. Why doesn't he? That comes down to his goals, his ambitions, things that for now simply don't align with that path. But now, I want to hear from you. Do you think fighting him is an automatic loss? Can you imagine any scenario where he could be defeated, neutralized, or even rendered useless? If you enjoyed this deeper kind of analysis, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps more than you think. And take advantage of the video appearing on your screen right now. It will show you another perspective on this same universe, just from a slightly different angle. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.